Show starts in 1 minute. Good evening, folks, and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family.
Like 9 out of 10 film stars, Raquel Welch uses Lux Beauty Soap.
Well, no, I like to be a woman and a man to be a man, you know.
We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see. We hope you have a wonderful time.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Longhouse, the weekly show for the sensible centrist. Bloody Path, how are you doing?
Nice, thank you very much. Hello everybody. I'm nice and warmed
Hello,
up for
everyone.
another round of articles.
I'm not. Well, I am, but I'm not. It doesn't happen very often to me. A lot of people in the dissident right, so to speak, have a certain hatred for humanity that takes a while for me to muster up. But this week I've really been feeling it. And I've been reading articles in my local paper with, all sorts of, because it's local elections, right? Which means that, it brings out all kinds of crazy stuff. And so, of course, like one of the biggest things going on where I live right now is the introduction of new toll stations or increased toll rates, right, in the region to pay for various stuff, probably gay stuff, to be honest, but ostensibly also some roads. And this is, they're going to set up more checkpoints. And this is, agenda number one. Everything else is going to shit. Like, we don't have money for healthcare. We don't have money for, like, the hospitals here. But, God forbid that I have to pay, like, $1 more because I need to go. Have you been to that's another thing. I went the first time to something called Iceland. Have you been to Iceland?
I have not been to Iceland. Where's that located?
I think maybe that's a local thing. Hang on. Let me double check. It's not the actual, of course, it's not the actual Iceland, the country. No, I think this is no, they're in Oslo as well. I see. Iceland is basically an importer of like British frozen food, more or less. Like if you want British products, right? If you want like Marmite or Yorkshire tea, or if you want it specifically like frozen chicken korma or like TGI Fridays frozen hash brown bites. No, but that's my point, right? The number one agenda is for people to, like, God forbid that I have to pay like $1 more so that I can go to Iceland and buy the fucking slop from Britain, right? We gotta do something about it. This is where I draw the line, and I'm just kind of like, oh my God, you're just so far removed from anything that is remotely a real problem. Like, I get that, it's impacting your bottom line that you have to pay more taxes. I'm all for it, right? But it's just the pigs yearn for the trough, Luddick. The pigs yearn for the trough.
When you said that, I'd never imagined that like British food exports was even a thing. Like, if you want, like,
I wasn't either until like someone was like, "Oh, we should, stop by Iceland, and they have a lot of weird stuff there." I'm like, "Okay, what's this?" Right? And it's basically just like a warehouse full of like frozen food, and it's all like shitty British food. Right? It's hyper processed.
You can get
people are like gobbling it up. It's like, I gotta get my Jaffa cakes or something, right? It's
meat pudding that's been boiled 3 times or something. That's the
something like that. Yeah,
that's what they're selling there.
Let me bring up the website here.
But the toll stations are very interesting for the reasons that you mentioned it, because they really seem to. I don't know. I mean, if you look at how you compare toll stations to certain taxations to inflation, value added tax, whatever, I'm not sure if they're particularly dangerous for someone's bottom line, but they really seem to draw something out in people, some kind of ire.
Yeah,
When
I don't
it
know.
wasn't there before, and they're used to driving on the road for free, and now you have to pay 10 Norwegian kroners or whatever each time. And there's something particularly, motivating there. I mean, you had this protest party against the toll stations, right? The people's auction against toll roads or whatever. And they actually were able to get into local government. They dissolved immediately after when they figured out that you have to do something else in
Right.
politics and just complain about toll roads. But my question is like the reason why politicians use them so much, because they're if
Well,
they do
it's
annoy
like
people this much, why couldn't you just use some other tax that's just less visible to people?
that's a good question, actually. Like, why wouldn't you just do it differently? Ostensibly, I mean, it is to literally tax people who. Well, hang on, I know the answer. Sorry, because Ludwig, as with many of these things, it's not about getting taxation, right? It's not about getting tax money. It's about making you drive your car less,
I
right?
was thinking about it as you said it. I
Money. It's not about the environment. It's not about anything of that. The mandate is people need to drive less, right? That's the
yeah,
mandate.
you take the train or the bus or whatever, and they want to make it as painful
Right.
as possible to be in a car. So
Exactly. Yeah. So, on that level, I get it. It's a quote unquote agenda that is pushing away people's, way of life. But it's so far down on the totem pole for me, right?
yeah,
Um
I mean, of
it's
course, if I
just,
was like,
that this is what brings out these like 50-year-old libertarian boomers, right? And like drives them into an absolute frenzy is I don't know, it's just very confusing. Like, this is where you start the fight. It's like you couldn't start like 25 years ago when like everything started to go to shit, like 50 years ago. No, now it's gone too far.
well, I think
Is
there's
it?
something intrinsically boomerish about driving, right? Because I mean, a lot of Zoomers don't even have driver's licenses, as we've talked about.
Well, yeah, that's the thing
I
too.
think
Yeah.
millennials drive a lot less. I think boomers are a generation that just enjoy driving. They just enjoy the car as a modality, not just the car,
I'm
but motorcycles
almost
and stuff.
I live somewhere where I'm almost like I almost wouldn't need a car, but I do because, everything that's outside my local area, I need a car to get there. But if I got like a baker and a butcher, I'd probably be able to live without a car just fine. I'm already in the 15-minute city athletic path,
Shit.
but potentially the good one, right?
The good reset.
The good,
Yeah.
the Trumpton version, right? But unfortunately, there's things that need to be hauled. There's things that need to be procured that's outside of walking or biking distance. So, of course, I drive, right? But I'm a millennial. I'm not sure how millennials index, but I can definitely say for the Zoomers that I know about, they barely drive.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do drive. I have certain things that I need to do in other cities, and I do notice that I drive past toll roads and I get it up on my Vips. That's the Norwegian Venmo or whatever. These kind of automatic invoices that just show up on your phone, and it's a little bit annoying, but it's not something that it's not my number one priority, to be honest. But I guess this is like Gamergate for the boomers, basically, that they have to politicize the stuff that they like to do.
Exactly. Yes. It's just unfortunate that, as I said, this is what drives them into a frenzy. I would really have liked to see them do it a lot sooner with a lot of different things. So that's been dominating some local politics, which is why I find myself tired with humanity.
No, I can't see it. I mean, like for certain people, I do understand if you're like a cab driver or something. I mean,
Yeah,
it
sure,
used to
of
be
course.
like you would sit in a cab and you could like complain about stuff to the cab driver, but it's now you're sitting in the cab and they're just complaining to you about
Driver
toll
complaint.
roads or something, right? So they're passing it on to us, and not just the costs, but the irritation of having this.
Let's see here. Valtra asks, are the oil region of Stavanger and Bergen less left-wing than the rest of Norway and Scotland? That's the case. I don't have the data to confirm that. What I will say is that Stavanger is the first region in Norway to basically make buses free. Like if you're a taxpayer in Stavanger County, you can take the bus for free now, and that might be something that the rest of them picks up. I don't see how that's going to work where I live, because that's basically impossible, like geographically impossible. It's never going to make money or be worth it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think if you have some consistent routes, then you can just the bus is just going to show up. You pay for it. I see how it could make sense in some places. I just don't know how. People are going to find some way to exploit it. I was wondering if people would start just like using it for logistics reasons or something. Like they're just like sneaking in like produce and crates and that kind of stuff. I hope they have some limits on that. Like you can't just like bring 15 suitcases with you on the bus.
Yeah, right.
Just if it's free, like there has to be some kind of. It's always good to just charge a little bit, so that it's not worth messing with.
Which brings us, I suppose, to the first. Well, not the first, but maybe we'll do this one first. One of the articles that I had sort of saved I called the description of this "The Absolute State of Norway" because we haven't really done we did like a news thing, sort of, a couple of weeks ago. But let's talk politics for a moment, because when we started the show, the first episode we did, which was called Absolute State of Norway, it had the newly appointed prime minister from the Labour Party and the general secretary of NATO, I think, as the thumbnail. And so they've been, not the Stoltenberg, the NATO guy, but the Labour and the Centre, they're called, which is basically the Farmers' Party, have been more or less in power now for more or less 2.5 years, 2 years. And this year they've been plagued by a bunch of scandals, basically, which is not the scandals of they're not glamorous in the sense that, there's people with like mistresses or doing like untoward things, etc. No, it's just like they're all just really bad at their job. So they have to resign in shame one after the other. First, it was, I think, the oil minister. She just resigned because she just flat out said she could, like the oil and energy minister. She resigned because she was like, no, I can't do this job. It's too much. and then it was, and then it's been, let me check here. There was one of these did I lose it? This is
I can see it.
No, this is the wrong, this is the wrong article. One moment. Here we go. Recently, just in a couple of, within a month, one Labour minister, the Minister of Culture, she resigned on June 28 after it became known she has given positions to close friends. The Research and Higher Education Minister from the Farmers' Party resigned recently on July 1st because it became known that he had bought shares in Kongsberg Gruppen, and he did not declare himself ineligible when the government processed a multi-billion-dollar contract for a subsidiary of this firm. In addition, Education Minister received criticism because she too has appointed friends of positions by virtue of being a minister. And it's been just a ton of these stuff, ton of these kinds of just, bad craftsmanship.
Lame stuff, just super gay.
Yeah.
I mean, with like the guy from the Center Party, Ola Borten Moe, when I read about it, I was expecting that he'd try to do some major play, so I got a little bit excited just about reading about it. like you hear about this sort of American style, huge insider trading, whatever. But it's just like some sloppiness on his part. He bought shares for like the equivalent of $40,000 in this company. Like the potential profit he could have gotten out of it is like 4,000 or something. Let's say like the stock price was raised by 10%. He could have made a couple of $1,000, right?
Not a big play, right?
No, it's
but it's illegal, and it's something that a minister should know better than do, right? And it's not even.
It is quite sloppy. Yeah.
I don't know, like even if he like did it on purpose, right? The way he has handled it makes me think that this was just a genuine mistake, right? He's just bad.
I got that impression as well. Like, I mean,
there's been other likewise or like similar cases where I get the feeling that, oh, you knew what you were doing, you're just sad you got caught, right? But you absolutely knew that what you were doing was illegal. In this case, I just think he's stupid, honestly.
Yeah, because if you were going to plan something like that, you'd put in a little bit more money on the stock, right? Because it's like he's barely making like a month's salary or something, but with the amount that he's put in.
So what's happening now is that one of the guys from the Conservatives, which is the right, go back to our state of Norway if you want to have like a full view of the parties, who is leader of the sort of control committee, I think it translated as, at the Storting, the parliament, is now having like a full investigation into as much of the government as possible, because there's been so many incompetency cases that we're gonna have to do like a full sweep. So
I mean, time flies, right? I didn't realize that they, like this coalition had been in power for 2.5 years already, but I think they've been unpopular since day one.
About 2 years, maybe a bit more than 2 years. Yeah, they've been quite unpopular from day one. But I mean, let me open the other thing, because I mean, they've been fighting an uphill battle, which is not necessarily 100% their own fault. I'll be charitable, because we've been, facing some, say, hard times. In terms of price hikes or price increase. I think I found a graph here that says, here it is. So here is the consumer price index, percentage change in the consumer price index from 2021 to today. So it started in 2021 at 2.5%, and this year it's at 6.7%. And they're saying that from last year, it's increased by 51.8%, which means that it's gone from like, what is it here, 3.2 to 7, right? Which really hurts a lot of people's cost of living, obviously, because this is mostly food products. They have rose, especially. You can see here the price of food alone has risen 13.2%. And this is the highest that have been measured since the early 80s, which means that this is the most expensive food has been as long as I've been alive, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't need to see the graph. I've been at the grocery store multiple times now,
you feel
and
it, right?
God damn, I was like, I think I just bought like 2 packs of rice cake, natural yogurt, and a Pepsi Max. And the tab came to over like 100 Norwegian kroners. Like, what?
Yeah, and it's like, what did I make a mistake?
Yeah, I thought so too. Like, I must have gone in the wrong store, but this was like Rema 1000 or something.
And one of the cheaper,
one of like cheaper stores. So it's a good time to diet.
Exactly. So it's again sort of this backdrop, and also the Norwegian kroner doing very badly on the international market, etc. That this government has sort of just been fumbling, and the center party, the Farmers' Party originally, really went into this riding like a the anywheres versus the somewheres wave, because they usually represent the more rural areas, which basically means not Oslo and not Bergen and not Trondheim. That's pretty much it. Like everywhere else, and especially after a very hard double period of the Conservatives, who centralized a lot of the local counties and basically forced the merger between a lot of counties. There's a lot of people who were dissatisfied and decided to vote for the people who ostensibly would, represent them. And they've been hit with, all of this price increase and gas prices hiking severely. And they're supposed to sort of represent the people who are probably being hit the hardest by all of this, right? And so they're not doing too hot. And they're also backed by a financial department who is probably, sweating a bit, saying that the last thing you can do is pump more money into the economy because it's sort of going wild already as it is, right? So doing any sort of grants is more or less impossible to help out people. So all of that to say that they're probably not going to get reelected.
Yeah,
but they've just made an entire. They've made a mess of everything, and it is sort of interesting to look at from a bit of a meta politics perspective when it comes to the merger of local counties, because there's a lot of local sort of smaller parties who are propping up that want to undo that, and you have the central authorities, which is the people from these parties, who are saying that this is something that we want to do. We feel like these counties shouldn't have been merged. They should be able to do like a vote or something if they want to stay merged. But the local county, the mayors or the local county officials are very much usually against this because they're very often either Labour or Conservative, the right, who are very much against this, which means that you have this weird battle between sort of the bureaucratic departments in the state and the local bureaucracies and the local mayors who are trying to like do this power play and try to subvert each other using weird legalese. So it doesn't seem like anything's going to come of it, but that's some enjoyment you can get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a painful thing, this kind of like merger and demerger of these municipalities. But I mean, in my mind, there's a sort of sunk cost here because you're going to spend a significant amount of resources on just merging these counties, right? Just doing all the paperwork, all the legal stuff and the logistics that need to be done. And hopefully you think that this centralization is going to bring some benefit long term. And if you sunk all this cost into it, and then it's like another party shows up,
undo it.
We're just going to double that and just undo it and go back to the way that it was. It's just, just on principle, like the amount of labor that you have to just put into keeping some of these, sorry to say, but some of these like these piece of shit, super small counties. Of course, yeah, nationalism, rah, whatever. But like in my view, it's some of these places, particularly as you get further north, there's so many of them. Like there's so many of these counties. It's like we have like 200 people live in them. It's
very.
I'm not sure I see the value in keeping
to the point where you get just corruption basically because you're applying large democratic apparatuses on a population of like 1,000 people, right? Which is just too much. Like it's too much power to give to that small of a population. When you could just basically let them go or just merge them into someone else. Now, ideally, right, you wouldn't apply a large democratic apparatus to a population like that. You would, I don't know, do anything else, right? have a jarl, right? Just a petty king who can control that small county, and everyone just reports to him or something. But obviously, that's what we're doing now, and it just becomes the wrong tool for the job, right? So it's better to just merge it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, with the the population collapse and like the demographic declines, the migration into the big cities, these counties are not vibrant. You know, that most of these Norwegian counties are just like, they're just glorified old folks' homes.
Yeah,
you know,
just
most of
slowly
the young
dying.
people are just moving into the big cities, or something close to the big cities, at least within commute distance. And like, there's so many of these cities that it's just like colonies for people who are pensioners, and there's just no reason that these they should just retain whatever, like, you know, quote unquote sovereignty that they had. I just don't see the value in it.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, the Conservatives are, you know, doing their thing. They want to cut taxes for those with low to moderate incomes, as well as make import protection more lenient. It's going to help out. Cheaper after school and leisure activities for struggling families, increased the child benefits. And I think this is just, you know, posturing for easy points. To be honest,
they're going to come back in the government. Like, it's so easy for them
obviously,
now, to do. But I mean, like, the looking at this kind of state of play that is presented in this article and that you're putting out here, I was aware of some of it, not so aware of other things. I think it would be interesting for us to take a closer look at the like up and coming like industry party and Industri- og Næringspartiet. That is basically, I mean, they are like the sort of climate denial, pro oil industry party, basically, who I can see them gaining a lot of traction, especially, as you said, if you put together the pieces with all these toll stations, with the how annoyed people are at not being able to use their cars. Because there's been a lot about this. I don't think we plan to do any of these articles, but you know, there's been a lot of articles from these people in the Greens in the mainstream newspapers where they're just complaining, like these long posts, like from that guy Eivind Trærdal, the guy who sits in the Oslo county, basically, who he just complains about how people are laugh reacting his stuff on Facebook. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's his thing now.
Sorry, what? I lost you for a second.
Yeah, you know, the guy who's married to the leader of the Greens in Norway.
Yep.
Right. He was writing all these articles where he was just lamenting that people are laugh reacting his posts on Facebook. I'm not even kidding. Like, he's writing about this sort of, oh, this is the warmest summer, like this, you know, oh, we're reaching new records in heat, and we just everybody's dying in Spain or whatever.
Emoji.
And it's like, he just gets like laugh emojis from people, and he's just super mad about it, right? And he talks about how he's just I'm able to you know, stand against the crowd. And I mean, the guy's literally like just a megaphone for all institutional
establishment if you tried. Yeah.
all institutional power in Europe. All bureaucracies agree with him. Like, he can just call up people and get articles in all the big newspapers, just write whatever dog shit he wants. But he's like, you know, it is like this Power Ranger syndrome where he thinks he's like the underdog. No matter how much power they have, like, all the gods are on your side, but you still think that like these 10-20% of Norwegians who don't even have a college degree, so like laugh react you on Facebook. They're like that's the big problem we're dealing with here. You know, I think we should do an episode on it, actually, if I do some more research, because
but of course,
it's,
you know,
the building up
Prime
a nice
Minister
case.
here, he's working on it, but he says there's some big bills that we have to pay before we can sort of see the light at the end of the top tunnel here. And he mentions support for Ukraine, the settlement for over 50,000 refugees, the strengthening of the armed forces, and of course paying for power and the price compensation. Power is something we've talked about before, where, you know, we've basically shot ourselves in the foot by selling all of our power obligating to sell our power to the European powers, who will always drain more than we can possibly give them, which means that following the what's it called, the Nordic whatever alliance trading thing, means that we are obligated to sell, which means that it's going to just hike up our prices, because there's going to be a forever shortage on power here now.
Yeah. We're looking at you, Germany.
We're looking at you, Germany. So we have to pay for Ukraine, and we have to pay Germany, and then we can start looking at ourselves, maybe, if we're lucky. And also, to keep the politics going, or do you want to do more politics, or should we do a break with the man debate?
Let's see here on the articles here. Well, I don't know what we have time for. We could look more at the man debate.
Let's do a break. Yeah, this is funny. Okay, so if you watched our show 2 weeks ago or whatever, we featured 2 articles that talked about some guy named Adam Nyo, who was a psychology student, master student, who wrote an article that was, you generalized it, Ludwig Path, as something, manosphere talking points, just
microwave manosphere,
blunted a little bit, and toned down a little bit to be able to post that into the state channels, basically. And then we also covered some random feminists' response to that, where we summarized it as, well, you just got to take the pills, misogynist, and try to fit, because what the original author posits, of course, is what's men's role in the society that we're building. It seems to be increasingly disappearing, and so this author here, actual author, as in he has, I think he's published novellas and or books, responds by attacking this Adam person, and I'll bring up just locally here the Norwegian version of the article, just in case I don't, just so I don't mistranslate anything here via Google. So just let me know if you want to just interrupt me, Ludwig Path, if you want to say something.
Do.
With an unofficial world record in generalization, the debater and psychology student Adam Nyo continues setting fire to both social media and debate columns this summer. Based on his correct observation that some young men struggle, he asserts with his column title, Men in the Ladies' Land, the Land of the Ladies, that it's not just them, it is men as a whole. And the title also reveals why. We do it because we are forced to live in the land of the ladies. Really? With an equally generalizing view of the men's debate, the following considerations force themselves to the fore. What a hopelessly whiny approach we are getting to. Hang on, sorry. This is a very strange sentence. Let me just think here. He's saying it is whiny to reduce men to one thing, and that one thing suffers from terrible invisibility and suppression. That's what he's saying. So categorizing men by like one data point, essentially. The reality is that as a man in our country, in our part of the world, you are freer than ever to live out a wide range of your potential. Compared to our parents' generation, our generation of men has tremendous freedom to realize ourselves, or self-realization. Whether we want to become mountain climbers, artists, organic farmers, carpenters, or immerse ourselves in a lifelong interest in American cars. We can be fathers that are present. We can start slaloming or flying hang gliders when we're at the age of 60. My father's generation stopped playing when they turned 30. We can buy ourselves a big motorcycle as a 50th anniversary present. It's been a cultural male revolution. Keith Richards expands the play field and the age span of men with every riff he strums on the guitar.
Oh, I just hate every part of this.
It's like the most boomer thing I've ever read. It's like, yeah, no, but you can just be whatever you want, man. It's just, rock and roll, man.
My father's generation stopped playing when they turned 30. Yeah, maybe you should have done that as well. Maybe that was a healthy thing, to not sit and like buy yourself big motorcycles when you were 50. Maybe that's not a healthy impulse to have. I don't know.
Yeah, why are you hang gliding at 60? Like, what's the what?
I mean, what are you trying to do there?
there?
Like, why is that something that you want to do? Like, just buy yourself a gift, an expensive motorcycle as a 50-year-old? Like, I mean, of course, I get it. Motorcycles are cool. They're macho and everything. But if you are some kind of like lawyer or some like IT guy or someone like pencil pusher, and you're buying yourself that at 50 years old, is this macho? Is this like some kind of Faustian statement?
Yeah,
It is just
the joke is usually that's desperation, right? It's the crisis of the 50-year celebration, right?
Midlife crisis.
The midlife crisis, right? And this guy is saying, yeah, but that's the fact that you can do that means that it's better than ever, which is just God.
There are two angles.
Like, how am I gonna, they just want to go to Iceland, Liddick, and buy, Hellman's mustard or something.
Yeah, you can do that now.
Why should my grandfather? Who am I to deny them, frozen British food?
My grandfather could not buy, blood pudding, right? Frozen, double frozen blood pudding. So I think we're better off. Like, I mean, that's the first angle.
And I'm the racist, right?
That, of course, it's not really, okay, this is not really that good. It's like, you should see that that's the kind of like, oh yeah, this is something to celebrate, that you should like buy yourself all this selfish crap as a parent, that maybe there's something wrong there in your culture. But the other thing is that even though, like, with the examples that he's coming up with here, I don't see, like, doesn't he see how these things are shrinking now? Like, your ability to actually, even if you want to be this kind of like ubermensch boomer that you think you are, Keith Richards is now, like, with all these rock stars that are coming under fire because you can't date like a 20-year-old or something. That's like, it's not within like the Longhouse rules.
All being attacked.
I mean, motorcycles are being attacked because they're like gas guzzling, anti-environmental stuff. All of this kind of things, like,
and also,
the safetyism in society, like this,
implying for a second that any sort of millennial or younger will be able to afford these things when they turn 60, right?
Yeah, or just be allowed to, because of the kind of like safetyism in society, right? I mean, where you say like, okay, driving a motorcycle is too dangerous, or hang gliding is like too dangerous, or you can't like mountain climb because of regulations or something like. But that's a real thing. It's sort of encroaching.
These are also like the most surrogate activities as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, of course,
these are not even like hobbies, right? They're just like, I paid for a life experience, man, right?
And I mean, Keith Richards as well, we can talk about, isn't it time to fucking hang up the guitar at this point? I mean, do you need to keep doing this? Like, can't you just allow some younger people to...
if they take it out of his hands. He will actually just die.
So yeah, there's at least those are the two obvious ones. Like, I mean, let's see here.
Oh yeah, great. Now I'm gonna get my VR headset. I'm gonna mountain climb via that. Yeah,
imagine how lucky you are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the benefit of the millennial and the zoomer. We can just ignore all of this and just live.
Yeah, that's
VR
like
land.
Our version is that in the millennial version of this is like, you can do all of this stuff in fucking the Facebook Live place or something. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
But they're coming for that as well. Like, you've read these sort of feminist articles about, well, what about AI and misogyny, and what happens if these men abuse their AI girlfriends or something?
Not even going to be allowed to mountain climb. And...
you can't even do it in VR, right? But yeah, I keep reading. We'll find some more gems
play,
there for sure.
Skyrim in VR in like 50 years, and there's going to be like, I'm going to get kicked out of the game because I stabbed a woman the wrong way or something.
Gender neutral bathrooms in the rewritten version of it. Yeah.
My grandfather, on the other hand, lived in that promised land of men, which Njal seems to miss as in he's longing for it. In the winter, he traveled into the silver mines in Kongsberg before dawn, and he came out after darkness had fallen. In the intervening hours, he carried out hard physical work, while without protective equipment, breathing in the mining dust, which for a good number of the workers led to silicosis, which is unfortunate. But like, man, like, imagine, like, what happened in like 50 years? This is inconceivable. This level of determination and grit, right?
Yeah, no, but this is true. Like this is like for my, maybe not my
That's what I'm
grandfather,
saying.
but my great
It's
grandfather.
so close, right? It's so close in time to my generation,
Yes.
and yet it's so far away, right?
It's absolutely
just
nuts.
so far away.
Yeah, having like a 12, 14-hour workday, you'd walk to the mines, you'd just be in the mines, and I've been in those mines. I mean, it's no joke, right? The safety equipment is not great, and it was hard physical labor, doing risky stuff, just being basically around men all the time. But they were compensated decently. That should be mentioned. I mean, it wasn't slave labor.
Yeah.
They were handsomely compensated for it.
Admittedly, he came home before dinner, but faced with a choice, we can't ignore the fact that he would trade life in the mine shafts for cooking dinner every other day. But he didn't have that choice. Softness has become the new ideal, writes Njå. There is reason to remember that Ole Paus already wrote the satirical The Weak Man's Song in 1979, in which the chorus asks, "Why does no one want to lie with me?" as in sexual intercourse. It's about 30 years ago since Ton Kirkvaag made the sketch I want to fuck, I suppose. The phenomenon Njå writes about are not particularly new. The novelty lies in the complete identification with them and the absence of liberating humor. It's questionable whether such a general diagnosis helps those who struggle with alienation and deficiency. For my part, I doubt it. Nevertheless,
so this last paragraph here. So I'm not. Maybe I'll get the Norwegian one because something must have been lost in translation here about this humor bit. Not sure what he's exactly. What is he trying to communicate?
Can you see the original text here?
See here. I'm reading it now. So yeah, he's talking about it is the same, but
no, he's saying that what the original he's saying that what the original author is doing is basically defining his identity with the challenges. I think,
and there's no kind of distancing to it, or there's no like
that's sort of what I'm saying.
He's not having fun with it, I guess.
Right.
Which is weird.
Which is weird and very, I don't know, bloviating, I guess, from this guy. But that's kind of the point as well. It's not that he's identifying with it. It's that he's looking at the future and he can't see a room for him in it, right? And he's asking, what's my place in this society you're building? Right? And this guy is saying, well, you're just being too serious, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's very interesting because we've been like crapping on millennials and we're shitting on Zoomers for like their, irony or like post irony or whatever. But this stuff is like, there is this thing among the boomers as well. Like they just, the way that we're going to deal with this problem is we're going to make a sketch or something in some kind of theater troupe where we do some social commentary with a song. And that's kind of like, that's how we deal with that. But in the sense like that, there is like this joy about life to it. It's like, hey, we're just dealing with this, and that's just a part of life. This kind of soft man, but I mean, it's not funny anymore to most people. It's just
the thing is that it doesn't actually do anything, and it works for a while, but when the bridges start collapsing, you can't make a sketch about it, right?
Yeah, it's
rolling brownouts, rim shot. It's not going to work. When you start hitting people in their livelihood, in the price of food, in their gender identity, and I mean gender identity in the the relation between men and women, right?
Yeah,
in the room you as a man play in society.
I mean,
you can't toss that away with a joke. It's impossible.
They've gonna crash the ecosystem in many ways, like with all this kind of digital crap and the lack of clear gender roles and norms. It's like, well, I mean, it's just a wasteland now. There's only so many jokes that you can make about it.
Adam guy is saying, he's standing there among the ashes, holding a couple of pieces, saying, "Where do we go from here?" And then the feminist woman is like, "Well, shut up and take the pill." And this guy's like, "Well, you're just not seeing the humor in it."
Well, because like the Norwegian boomers, particularly the middle class Norwegian boomer, has been completely sheltered. And I mean, to a degree, you talk about how like delusional the American boomer is. With their they talk about God-given rights and European-style socialism. It's like, but the Norwegian boomer is just the leftism that it comes from this kind of thing where it's for them. It's basically it's still the 90s, but they have more money, and they still live in nice neighborhoods that are reasonably homogenous. And they watch TV where it's like a little bit of that woke stuff is in there, but it's not enough to really ruin their day. It's not like their day is completely poisoned with this kind of feminist stuff.
You pling the bell like 2 times during it. I'm not sure if you're aware of what I'm referencing.
No, I'm not sure actually.
Okay. I think this is this. Hang on. It's this. Here it is. Can I find the original? That would be even better. Just a moment. Can't find the original. I can only find the. This is a Reddit post with like a 4chan. All right, it'll have to do. So this original post here in the white says, "My wife is so tired of me commenting on every POC I see in history dramas and advertising that I now just have a bell on my chair that I ring as an outlet of my frustration instead of talking about it."
I forgot this one. It was not fresh in my cache memory, so to speak. So I'm glad you reminded me. But yeah, I'm on board.
My point was you get a couple of rings, right? But not enough to make you do something about it. All right, let me read on. Nevertheless, this representation of men such as empty vessels that are just waiting to be filled by other people's, aka women's recognition, when they get it, it is as if there's a hole in the bottom of the vessel, so it's just as empty afterwards. Fucking based. Yes, that's exactly how it is. Look, hang on, let me find this. This is I sent this in one of our chats, Ludwig. I think Green River picked up on this. Right? Let me find this. Here it is. So, default friend on Twitter, Catherine D, wrote about Miles Rutledge, the guy who's missing in Afghanistan apparently, and something about how he's sort of achieved meme status and immortality. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not showing the article. And immortality through his escapades is not really about the person Miles anymore. It's about whatever. It's not really important. It was kind of a boring article, to be honest. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, Miles the meme is bigger than Miles the person. Big whoop, right? And then this man writes, or person, I don't know, maybe it's a woman. "I wish I could find it, but there was a comment I read about how Miles likely came from a home where nobody cared for him, otherwise he wouldn't be doing what he's doing, and that his adventure tourism was in some ways different ways of attempting suicide. Not sure how true that is, and I'm sure Miles has always had a penchant for adventure in some sense, but reading his post, and I always got the feeling that he wanted to die in a blaze of glory. And I shared this to the guys, pretty much, and Green River picked up on it and said, "The men who went to the North Pole or the South Pole didn't want to die. Neither did the men who explored the New World. Genghis Khan, Napoleon, or Alexander the Great didn't go out to die either. Perhaps the problem lies with you attempting to pathologize a basic male trait." And so this is sort of the feeling I'm getting here, is like he's saying that men thrives on recognition and greatness, right? And he's like, oh, but then they're never satisfied. I'm thinking, yeah, that's what you want, right? Don't you? Like, do you want a society where men don't want to do great things? I mean, maybe we do, but like,
yeah, I think so. I just doubt he's like referencing some Faustian impulse here. He's just talking about like people who just can't kind of be, what do you say, they don't have kind of the confidence to, let's just say like self-generated confidence in a sense, people who are just like validation seeking people. I totally get your point. I just don't think he's that deep.
I know he's not that deep, and that's the argument he's making, and it's, it's dangerous that he's making it. That's my point. He's not a meme, he's a bleeping MI6 agent. Well, I've heard that as well. I was just sort of commenting on the context. Anyway, adults don't relate to their... Everything is somehow someone else's fault, and adults don't relate to their own lives like that. How about you stop whining and listen to some Leonard Cohen instead?
I'm sorry, like...
But a man never got a woman back, not by begging on his knees. Then we can concentrate the help and measures on those who really need it.
The thing is that, okay, yeah, adults don't deal with stuff like that, but they aren't adults. That's the problem. They're not growing up. Like, and now what? What do we do now?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can't just tell them to listen to some shitty pop music that you like.
Listen to some whatever. Like, one thing is having a cultural, reference and context, but listening to boomer music isn't gonna... You're not gonna find the answer there, right?
No,
you can find kinship. You can find kinship with the boomers, right? You can find the cultural context to be able to have a conversation with them, but you're not going to find the answers in Leonard Cohen and Keith Richards.
No, it's I mean, it's very shallow. It's very shallow stuff. And I mean, he's of course making some points about the possibilities you have, and there are men who have made the best out of those opportunities. And if you are one of those men, then I mean, these articles are not really addressed to you. It's kind of like, I mean, if you're watching videos on how to do like a diet and exercise routine to get a six-pack or something, well, I mean, if you already have a six-pack, like some kind of genetic super freak or whatever, okay, then this article, it's not about you. I know that these people exist. I know that there are guys out there that are doctors that are gonna like fuck one woman every night from Tinder or something, but it just doesn't. You don't need the help. It's not about you. This is about everybody else who is sort of failing in the system and the total wasteland that this kind of incentive structure has generated. And like, there's at some point they have to be able to take that structural critique in without just, okay, you can just listen to this Def Leppard jam or something and feel better about it. It's just a little embarrassing.
That's going to solve the problem. What's the meme? Like, fuck the government, 7-minute guitar solo.
Yeah, drum solo.
I think it was you who shared that with me, and it's very true. All right, let's get over to the next piece of news. I guess let's do the one you sent me, actually, because there's been some more trouble in paradise. Zoom out a bit here and run it through the translator. Here you go, Luddick. Someone has left skid marks on the gay street. I repeat, someone has left skid marks on the gay street.
Skid marks now to clean up.
The police is asking for witnesses to get in touch if they have any information about the vandalism on this parade street in Drammen, which is a town that is about, would you say, like 20 minutes outside Oslo?
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes by train, typically.
Right.
So it is a town that it has some industry and close to Oslo, and usually for people who
it's been vandalized by people on scooters. This must have been like electric scooters, right?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So the police are on the case. The Greens are saying that the incident has affected her greatly, and she feels it is an attack on queer rights.
That's because
the mayor believes the incident shows that the fight for equality has not gone far enough.
Really? That's a new take. I've never heard that happen before. Like they spend a lot of money like pushing this gay shit in people's faces, and they push back, and it's like, well, we haven't pushed hard enough, guys. This just proves that, the fact that it's not Pride Month and we're spending money.
Dildo needs to be a little bit longer.
we're doing this sort of anal sex stuff on like the street that you walk on, and the fact that you don't like it, well, it means that we haven't done it enough. So but of course these are Muslims doing this. I mean, if you've seen Drummond, the center of Drummond, it's a little bit sad because I used to live there, right? And I mean, the white people just live in these kind of more suburban areas, but like the center of that place, it looks like Cairo, Egypt. It's just full of hijabs, Middle Easterners. But of course, like,
as soon as I found out what happened, my stomach hurt and I felt nauseous. This feels like one of the most important fights of my life. I experienced this as an attack against queer rights, minorities, and our diversity. This street was created to represent everyone, and then this happens, says Janne, clearly affected.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things here. First of all, we have to do the stone toss thing, like, because she's from the Green Party, like the question is like, well, how will this spending like $100,000 painting the streets with colors help the environment? Like the environment.
Yes, environment.
That's the first joke here. The second one is really, I'm kind of baffled at the fact that she knows, she has to know the demographics. If she walks through the city, if she's the mayor of the city, and you're walking around, and you're seeing all these people who wear hijabs and walk around and
thinking about this.
Traditional, Muslim garb, like it raises a lot of questions in my mind about how they see these client groups, because there's been this kind of like ethno-nationalist conviction here, like you hear from people who are on sort of the Norwegian far right, typically, that it's like, the government, they just love the Muslims, and they're like the Muslims, like the main client group for them, and they're gonna bend over backwards to help the Muslims and so on. But at this point, it's like they seem to be putting the gays first as a client group, and then to really just shove this stuff in all of the Middle Easterners' faces, and then they get kind of surprised when they push back.
It's going to culminate at, do the Muslims have to bake the gay cake at some point? Something equivalent like that.
Yes,
we're dancing around, well, that cake, I suppose.
and you see that with the attitude towards the Quran burnings as well, and the kind of lack of attention to some of it, that they really do seem to, the Norwegian kind of political class, they really do seem to prefer this kind of LGBTQ, the kind of straight, non-brown LGBTQ coalition first. That seems to be like their main kind of priority, in a sense, even if it goes at the behest of some of these minority communities that would have probably been emphasized more maybe 20 years ago.
They rolled out this guy, Masood Gharakani, who is from Labour. He reacts to the vandalism, and he says, to those who ask why we should pay so much attention to pride, I would say there is hate, and hate kills. So even, I suppose, at least on the front, they have the support of their minorities in the party.
Yeah, we got the well, it's not a Uncle Tom. Well, I don't know what the name for this is, but like this kind of ambitious
right
guy who's just gonna parrot the talking points even harder. I've said it before, but I find it almost more contemptible than the people who just kind of stick to their own traditions.
Well, they got this, blue collar guy to fix it.
Yep.
Probably
it's Keynesian economics, but instead of the broken window, it's like the Pride Street that they make skid marks on the Pride Street, and you get the cleaners to clean it off, and that stimulates the economy. So
he gets to go home and spend 1 million kroner at the shop because everything's so expensive now. And this is it creates a lot of jobs. The skid marks on the Pride flag, so it's a booming industry. I would investigate investment opportunities in local urban areas if I were you.
I'm going to buy stock in cleaning companies now.
Buy stock in cleaning companies, and more money to urban youths, really, to ride scooters.
I'm playing both sides, so I win every time.
That's how you build a fortune. Let's see here. It shows how important it is that we win the battles. Some may think that we haven't done enough. This is proof that we are not as far along as we think. The fight we're fighting for the people have the same rights and to love whoever they want. It provokes so much, then we have to do it even more, says the mayor to the newspaper. The municipality began the cleanup work at 10 a.m. on Thursday, 20th of July, the day after the vandalism. The cleanup work will take a day. He was acting business manager for transport, roads, and park management. Fortunately, it wasn't worse than... Okay, so it's going to spend half a day, I guess, doing it. We use soap and high-pressure washers to get the marks off.
I mean, you have this one, but it says, you say more articles down there, and it says basically new vandalism, so it happened again after they cleaned it off. And there's other places in Norway that this is happening as well. That there was some old woman who showed up with who showed up with black paint to just paint it over, like in broad daylight. And so this is going to be a booming industry now. This kind of like repainting the Pride streets.
Interesting. See.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of, I don't know. I like reading about this stuff. It's like a little petty thing. I just like the fact that, you know, you're seeing, I mean, at some point they just have to give it up, right? It's like if people were like climbing up and taking down toll stations at some point, it's like, it's not even profitable to keep doing it. The populations are just so unruly that you can't.
That doesn't seem to be a thing that's happening, right? I mean, people are vandalizing the pride flags, but no one's pulling down toll checkpoints.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering about that. I was talking to a colleague that I had from the Middle East, and he basically said that he doesn't understand why people don't just do that. You know, if you were putting up toll roads in Afghanistan or something, they would just tear them down if they saw them. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be very difficult. It's, you know, you get one of those, what are they called? The like circular motor saws that you use to cut metal. I don't know what they're called in English.
Yeah, you could just like spray over the cameras or something.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to like totally demolish it, those toll checkpoints, they stand on very thin like aluminum or something beams, right? It's probably not aluminum, but I don't think it would take you that long if you were a bunch of guys with a van, right?
Yeah, we're of course not recommending people do this.
No, I'm not recommending. I'm just saying that
talking about it,
the sort of what should you say? The investment is very low to cause a lot of damage here, right?
The only thing I'm wondering about is like the penalties for this stuff. I think that it's like if you destruction of government property, especially if
it's like probably
technological, it's probably quite big. But
and, also knowing how things are, you know, that we would really be feeling the anarcho tyranny with this one, because I assume that, you know, every available resource would be put on that if you do that, right? They would find out who you are.
In the beginning, they would have to make an example to try to stop people from doing it. But I mean, with this stuff, I think it's already gone too far.
Angle grinder. That's the word I was looking for.
Because if enough people do it, you can't arrest the whole population, right? So
yeah, no,
that
of course,
becomes kind of an issue.
We're back to the whole organized versus disorganized, right? If enough people did it at the same time, it would be very effective. We have actually a new member to the channel, Henrik. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Henrik.
Let's see here. Did we have one more? Yes, we had one more thing to cover, which is that the Communist Party, which are called the Reds, have lost their leader. And if you want to know more about them, you can go back to our original State of Norway. This guy is stepping down as the leader of the Reds because he was caught stealing expensive sunglasses at, was it the airport in Oslo? Yes. With his, I'm not sure if it's wife, it's just girlfriend, because he got divorced and he has a new girlfriend or something. And it was a whole thing where he first claimed that it was a mistake. He had tried on sunglasses and then, you know, forgot that he had them on his head, and then sort of just left the store. And then, you know, things developed, and at some point a video surveillance footage was released showing that he's clearly stealing them, right? He's taking the tag off and everything. And so obviously he has to step down and face the consequences, etc., etc. Yes, a very lame scandal. But it means that the only the only playing card the Reds had is now gone. one of the things I believe they have won a lot of favor in is that this guy has seemed like a very, stand-up, approachable, relatable guy. He looks good. He looks good on camera. He behaves well on camera. He says things in a way that makes it sound good to the people listening. He attracts a lot of attention, right? But the right kind. And they have now swapped him out for probably the worst person they could have chosen. Which is this woman, who is this hyper feminist, big red coded type of yelling feminist, straight up.
Problem glasses, yelling, wearing red.
She every time she's on TV or anything like that, the way she presents herself isn't that like angry feminist yelling sort of way. And I can't see how this is going to play well for them, just purely on an analysis perspective, right? Just like, how are you going to win people over by having some shrill woman yell at them that they're being sexist and they don't care enough about
representation,
environment, and what about the poorest? And
yeah, representation matters, right? I mean, there's a reason like Joe Biden is president, like aside from various shenanigans, but the reason they chose him particularly because of the presentation. That you can't, even like the Democrats in the United States know that you can't put people like this at the front of your ship, because people are just sick of it. People just puke thinking about a person like this. And I mean, like with the other guy with Moxness, he I mean, I know that the Reds have done a lot of work trying to reach out to unions, and they've been talking to teachers and various work groups that they've promised things to, and try to create a network to get themselves to the size that they are now. It's quite impressive politically, but there's also like a contingent in the country of people who, let's say, disenfranchised white men who are looking for safe rebellion, right? And I think that's what Moxness represents, a form of like, you don't want to be as spicy as we are.
I've called them cappuccino communists, right? All my life.
I think that I mean, I become less secure about the actual communism part, because they sort of just think it's a kind of fix-all, or they're just angry at the system somehow. They have some grievance, and they don't want to go as far as we go. So they just want to, look at this guy. They're seeing him on TV. He's complaining about hypocrisy, and he's making fun of rich people. And they're looking at him, and they're saying like, he's literally me. Look, that guy's literally me. We're going to vote for him. And when they look at this woman, they're just thinking like somebody who tells them that they're misogynist for playing GTA 5 or something. Like that's really the only thing that they're seeing.
That's the association you're sending. Yeah. Unfortunately, right? But that's how it works, right?
So they're just going to be out of,
why would you do
under
this?
Under the boundary. I think they're delusional basically inside of the party. There's a lot of these people.
Henrik has a 4D chess take here saying that my conspiracy theory is that Moxness was actually too red by the fact that he was still anti-NATO. So she is more basic. I can't confirm that. If anyone in chat knows what her stance on NATO is, I mean, you have the personal stance, and then you also have the party stance, and the party stance definitely is still being anti-NATO and anti-EU. Just, by communism instead of
but again, I'm predicting that that they're going to be under like the limit, under 4%, because of this.
Oh yeah, definitely. They don't have a chance. Yeah, at all. That woman is, has horrible optics, and it's not going to go well for them. All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about? We have lamented the state of
I think we
humanity.
have lamented enough. Maybe we should do some questions.
Sure. If anyone has any questions in chat, please, throw them out. I'm going to show you the horror that is Swedish pizza, apparently. The algorithm showed me this today. I can't zoom any.
What's
apparently,
going on
I can't
here?
zoom much more. This is
What's
Swedish
going on
pizza.
here?
That's pickles.
Wow, I thought it was just salad leaves or something.
Celery root, It's it seems like some kebab meat. That's kebab meat, right? Is it?
Yeah, and they put fries on.
Is that pepperoni in between as well?
Some tomato. There's like large pieces of pepper, some bell pepper or something.
Yeah, you're saying it's doner pizza. This is filleted chicken.
It's and the pineapple is like lodged under the cheese or something. It's there's bananas. Banana slices under the cheese.
And peanuts. I've seen peanuts on pizza. It's still pretty bad, but I've seen peanuts on pizza before. Oh, it's a paprika. If you have some kind of, that's the red thing. It's paprika. Yeah.
If you have some kind of Oriental pizza, right, you go all the way with it, then you can use peanuts, but not like this. This looks like just everything I have in the kitchen.
Oh, this is the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's the kebab one. It's just like
this is another kebab one. Yeah. Yeah, you can get those if you go to kebab shops here as well. They're still, awful, but
yeah, this one takes the cake actually for like most the worst one.
That's pretty bad. All right. If you don't have anything you want us to talk about or any questions, I think we will end up just leaving, or I'm going to pull some random stuff out of my Twitter bookmarks. Are we going to talk about the bin of nachos?
The academic agent thing? We could look at the nacho bin video.
Is it an academic agent thing? I just found like a video. I think you commented on it.
Yeah, I found it through him. Today. So
I didn't know he tweeted it or something. But yeah, I mean, it's just Americanisms. Oh yeah, Green River with the important thing here. The Witten is in approximately 1 month in England. If you are interested, if you're listening to this and you're interested in, meeting us for whatever reason that would be, we are going to be at the Witten, which is from the 25th to the 27th. And you can find it if you go to shieldings.com. If you go to their events page, I can link it in the chat right now. There's going to be many great speakers there. There's going to be Warren McIntyre, Carl Benjamin, Distributed is going to be there. Yep. Fan de Villiers is going to be there, and I really hope he brings some art because I've always liked his. His sculptures, and I was like, I kind of want one. Like knowing that they're probably very expensive, and then I looked at the dimensions because he's posted like pictures of them, and they don't seem as big as they actually are in real life. Oh yeah, and it was confirmed on UO the other day that Academic Agent is going to be speaking there as well, and there's one mystery guest that hasn't been announced yet, and there's probably going to be others as well, but that's sort of the headliners.
All your favorite influencers in one place.
Go to Shieldings. The link is in the chat. Yeah, we'll be happy to see you there. So, the bin food. I have to say, I have a guilty pleasure with nachos, but the way the Americans just sort of have a tendency to take everything and make it 10 times worse is showing. And, Charlemagne, I know you're probably in the chat. If you're coming out swinging now with like my freedoms and I have a right to do this, God help me.
Eating Texas.
Oh God, do you guys have sound?
I can hear it.
We got this massive can of nachos and it was loaded with sour cream, cheese, and guac. And then we got this huge pretzel that was super buttery and soft, and I dipped mine in cheese, obviously.
$40 for pretzels. That's quite a lot. Isn't it? Also, obviously this is an ad in some way or another, right? in one way or another, technically.
Yeah.
Right.
I just don't dig the whole kind of like pretty made up Asian woman who eats all this kind of disgusting food, but it seems to be like a sort of thing a lot of people like to see.
Right.
They're just like
Well,
shoving their mouth full of this cheese.
Charlemagne, I hoped you didn't, and I'm glad to see you didn't. But I've seen a lot of Americans on Twitter today defend this, so you never know, right?
It was so good. And then we got these foot-long mozzarella sticks, and they were so cheap.
$45 for a mozzarella stick.
And the breading was seasoned.
And it's probably just, awful government cheese.
8 out of 10 huge log. That's
and it was
something you could say when you've been on the toilet, but
look at that.
Well, I mean, it's gonna
look at this. It's so
it's
repulsive.
Probably gonna look like that when it comes out the other way too.
Comes out that way.
This is just a mess, right? I mean,
I'm all for
like a, I enjoy a good big burger, but like this is just a mess.
Yeah, it can never taste good.
It's not even
that size. It's just
it's not even like, it's like, oh, it's American barbecue. American barbecue isn't this either, right? This is just some kind of like, it's just slop. Right?
I commented on it, the fact that it's should be jalapenos. I mean, this is some kind of like millennial zoomer thing where it was like, I need to have jalapenos and everything or whatever. Look how many they put on there. But
you gotta have jalapenos, otherwise I don't feel anything, right?
Well, you have to cover up. You have to just numb yourself to how shitty it tastes. You have to just completely destroy your taste buds with this kind of super spicy stuff on top of it.
I was going to bring up Charlemagne's chat, but that's a bit spicy. You're gonna have to look for yourself, Letty.
We got these loaded cheddar cheese potato fries, and it had bacon and jalapeno.
It was thick with 2 C's. Yeah.
And a huge side of ranch, and then this Ferris wheel of wings. It felt like.
Connor says, this reminds me of Ethiopian restaurants where it's just a bunch of stuff on a plate and you eat it with your hands. Well, and still somehow that's more culture than whatever this is, right?
Like I was at a fair. Jean was judging me. And we also got this 15-pound burger. It was huge.
Okay.
Jenny.
Again, this is an ad for this place. But Jesus.
I was concerned, but it was cooked perfectly, and
have you seen Kitchen Nightmares with what's his name? Ramsay. Is it Gordon Ramsay, the chef? Yeah. It's like this. I imagine these kind of scenes where he's just sitting down with the food. It's like, what the fuck is this? He's just like pulling it apart.
You shit on the plate. Yeah.
you shit, and he's just like holding the bun up and squeezing it, and the fat's just running off. It's like, what the fuck?
It's so greasy. Yeah.
It's such grease. It's huge. It's not even.
Yeah, he does
properly.
That thing at the Kitchen Nightmare where he's picking at the food. Yeah.
Yep. And they have the violin in the background, the kind of scary music stuff, and the chef is like looking nervously in the corner. It's like that type of food, but you're actually advertising it.
Are the Nordic countries familiar with Tolkien? Yes, we are. I mean, I've read both The Hobbit, and I had my father's, what's the name? Omnibus, Lord of the Rings, like this huge tome that I read. And so we're very much familiar with Tolkien. We should be. I mean, Tolkien plagiarized us.
It was huge.
Oh, it was 15 out of 10, guys. $145. I mean, okay, sure, if you're like 10 guys.
I think it's a lot of
value.
I think it's a lot for the money in terms of just pure calories. So if you're trying to survive, then it's not that bad. But like, I mean, look at it. Look at how pink that is. Yeah, this is like the Kitchen Nightmare. Look how fucking pink that is.
It's raw. It's raw.
It's fucking raw meat.
I mean, it's one thing. That's the thing. I'm always kind of like a bit weird on. I usually like things medium raw. But
look
the
at
burgers,
these squinty eyes. Look at his fucking squinty eyes.
You can't do
raw
anything
meat,
about it.
The raw meat is just pouring out of his mouth by strings.
But I've never understood, like, when you make a burger and they're very thick and they're medium raw, right? I think it needs to be a bit more well done than that, because when you're just eating like minced meat then, right? You might as well.
Well,
I mean, at that point, I'd rather take a good tartare, right?
Well, I mean, this kind of like medium rare, that's for steaks. It's not for ground beef. You have to understand that. Like,
Yeah,
there's no
that's
such
what I'm
thing as like
saying. Like,
medium
it's
rare
the
ground beef.
ground beef medium rare is just so much worse, right?
It's not a thing. It's just not undercooked. It's you're not supposed to eat it raw. It's supposed to be fully cooked. It's not like a complete piece of meat. It is just a hamburger. So
If you
they're
get a
probably
steak,
saving,
then obviously, right?
they're saving time. Like they're saving gas costs on not actually cooking their food properly. So
No,
they'll
it's
put it
just
in
a
for like 1
meme that
minute.
it's supposed to be. It's like, oh, so you gotta have to medium raw because that's the meme, right? So if it was like fully cooked, people would be like, oh, it's too well done.
Wow.
Burger tartare, if only. Let's see here. Raw meat equals salmonella. Yeah, that's a problem too. Some places.
And I'm just so annoyed at all this like this Super Mario music that they're running in the background. Is this like
you
the
got to keep
Zoomers are
consumers
supposed to
entertained.
be?
I
But this
barely
is
made it
from-
through this. There was no like Subway Surfers playing in the corner. Jesus Christ. Okay. Let me check my other bookmarks if there's anything else I missed. It was the thing with food. Oh, yeah, I need to contact this guy and see if he wants to come on. Nerd about me. Maybe not. Maybe he has too many followers. There are some guys who are playing online that I'm aware about in our circles that are playing it's called Adventurer Conqueror King, I think, which is like a reimagining of like old school D&D. And the guy who's made it is very interesting. Maybe he should come on for an episode. I'm gonna have to talk to him or try to reach out to him.
Oh, it sounds interesting.
Oh no, okay, I can. Okay, this is some red meat. Are you ready?
Ready.
Let me just open this. This is probably gonna get us flagged because she says, you know, evil things. We can't do this. We're a Christian YouTube channel. Don't demonetize us.
What I spent in making a day as a sex worker. I woke up and sat on FaceTime with one of my sugar daddies for 30 minutes. Nothing sexual, he just likes to talk to me, and he gave me $100. So then I went and got my nails done, which was $35 plus a tip. But then one of my other clients wanted me to send him like a dirty story while I was there, so he paid me $30. I mean, I was just sitting in the chair. I might as well text him something naughty and get paid money for it. So then I got ready to meet the client that I was first talking to on FaceTime this morning. We had a little lunch date planned where he was going to give me $300 for lunch, but I had to stop and get gas, which was about $20. And then I really wanted to get a coconut water, but this gas station just sucked ass. So I had to get a Gatorade Zero, which I think was like $4.
They had no Prime, Luddick.
Yeah, the world weeps. Let's see.
And I went to lunch, which obviously was free on the daddy date.
Obviously.
Nothing crazy, just lunch and some light making out. Then I cried, which was free. Not because I don't like my job or feel ashamed, but because I'm an actor and a writer and we were on strike and I feel a little lost creatively. So I had to get some comfort food, which was...
Stop a little. On strike?
Oh my god, this is, you know, I watched this
come on.
and I have, you know, life as a man is oscillating between like you hate and love women. Like this instantly sent me to the I hate women.
But
part
I mean,
of it.
on the
It's like,
strike part, is she?
They shouldn't be allowed outside. You know, when you can't understand your own emotions, you're just randomly crying, and you can't. It's not because I'm whoring myself out or anything. It's because I'm a writer, and it's really hard right now.
Well, so she's a sex worker. She's a prostitute basically, and she's like a Hollywood screenwriter or something. They're protesting like AI or something. I was watching that Insufferable guy, that Adam Conover.
They should learn
or whatever.
to code.
Yeah, Adam Conover. You know that he's like the quintessential soy boy. Adam ruins everything, and he's very big on this kind of like, oh, AI will not replace us. You know, ChatGPT is bad or whatever, and they're basically protesting ChatGPT by not writing but I don't know why she needs to write or why she needs to even be on strike if she's making bank doing this stuff. It seems totally pointless. I mean, if you're doing it as a hobby, it's like, I get it, but why do you need to strike? I mean, you're just doing it because you like it. It's just, yeah, I don't get it.
And you know, but it's not because of that she's crying, Ludwig. It's not, okay?
Was $23, and I got little strawberry shortcakes. Like, how cute is this? Then I went to my sister's house, and my stepdad made it.
we had to fill the void with some.
Then I went to my sister's house, and my stepdad made us pizzas, so dinner was free, and I hung out with my family and my little nephew, and obviously family time is priceless.
Get away from him! Get away from him!
I mean, he's afraid of cooties, right? But you might actually get it from get herpes or something from her.
How is this woman not obese? I mean, she probably works out a lot because her job is, whoring herself out.
Well, she didn't eat that much.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
nice catch.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, yeah, she's not obese. She's probably not eating like girl portions. Even if you're eating shit food, as long as you're portion controlling, you could do a lot with that.
Yeah. Charlemagne says she's like 3 out of 10 who pays for that. A lot of guys. And that's the thing, right? I mean, it's always an improportionate balance here. But the women just don't understand it, right?
You need to adjust yourself to the market, Charlemagne. It's I think you're a little bit off on the female the female exchange. I think your rates are a little bit higher.
I don't know. Depends. Did you see the lesbians changing light bulbs video?
No, that sounds fun. Let's watch.
See, we're getting through the all of the red meat now.
I need to install the chandelier, but I don't love being alone with traditional handy.
Meet Berlin's non-traditional handiworkers. It sounds like a Vice article.
Yeah, here we go.
I call Berlin's non-traditional handiworkers. The driller queens are 90% women, trans, and non-binary. They want all customers to feel safe with the person.
What? They have one, like the accountant. That's a man.
Coming into their home, and to provide jobs for diverse craftspeople in this male-dominated field.
In the handyman industry, there is an almost complete lack of diversity, inclusivity, or anything like this. It's also a problem for really talented people that want jobs in the industry.
They also made sure I felt empowered to help out. Clearly not just men's work, so why still hire cis men?
You don't create inclusivity by excluding people. When we get everyone involved, we can literally take over the world.
They didn't finish.
Hopefully they did finish.
But it's not finished. It needs to be attached in the top. But I mean, I'm going to assume that they finished at some point. But yeah, that, the infamous handyman / builder industry where they patrol, there's like Sharia patrols that keep women out, right?
Well, I mean, in some sense, I'm it's one of the complaints against a lot of these feminist groups is that, oh, well, you're not complaining about equality and, the plumbers or like people who work in the sewer or something. But so there, okay, I'll give them points for this, that they're actually going into one of these harder labor
Richard,
jobs. The problem is that they just can't do it, apparently.
You've sparked something here. I didn't know this was a thing. I'm going to need a wood check in the chat on the red-haired woman because he says, Big Ginger looks quite formidable. I mean, if Liquid Swan was here, he probably would, but that's another thing. Burkhall as well.
What do you think? Is like a German Beatrix or
maybe?
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it now. Yeah, it's interesting. But of course, yeah, I don't have any comments on it. It's just the same that's kind of the new broken window fallacy, is that you need these inclusivity people, and that you have the ever expanding circle of what do you call it, circle of concern, so that so that trans people can feel safe. They can hire other trans people to come to their homes and replace their smoke detectors or whatever. They can't do it properly, so we're paying people to pay people, and it keeps it going.
The smoke detector meme is absolutely wild. Let's do one more.
It keeps surprising me.
Let's do one more from TikTok's from YouTube, from Twitter's most important account, Cold Healing, who is the one TikTok anthropologizer online. Here's Lavender Cashew Milk Latte sharing her thoughts.
How am I 23 and I still have not had my first kiss? Like it's so horrifying. When I was like 22, 21, I was like, haha, it's kind of cute, kind of quirky. Like not really, but kind of. Like I could play it off. Now it's getting scary. Like I don't see it changing anytime soon. And like I just keep getting older. Now it's going to be so weird because I'm going to be so old and I'm going to have to tell somebody like, yeah, I've never done this before. Like I'm so humiliated. Like I didn't even have a first kiss in like middle school when everybody has one, and it's like the awkward, weird relationship where you're dating them for like a day. I never even did that. I don't know. I'm really starting to feel like something's wrong with me. Like I don't know why I am the way I am, but it's not good.
Do you have any thoughts, Letty?
Well, I don't know what she's worried about, because a lot of the guys that she might be dating have also never kissed a girl, so they're not going to be able to tell that she can't do it. And
but here's the thing, you see, she's not going to date a guy who hasn't kissed a girl before.
She's going to find Red Hawk or something. And
no, but that's the thing. Like women don't like it if you haven't had any previous experience, because that means there's a reason, right? It's better if you actually had previous girlfriends, because that means you're worth dating to someone else, right?
But I'm not even probably lie about it,
like
right,
me being like manosphere. I'm just saying, if you tell a woman, usually like 9 times out of 10, if you tell her you haven't like kissed anyone, she'll get the ick, right?
Yeah, no, I get it, but like from her perspective, I think there's enough guys that she could try that on, where they wouldn't like actually be able to tell. And I mean, to be honest, most women don't really put any effort into that stuff anyway, right? You can just sort of like stand there and you just lay on your back anyway. So it's like guys are probably not going to notice if you're just lazy or inexperienced. So she doesn't have anything to worry about.
says, I've had this conversation a week ago with females and they say better a virgin than a poonslayer. That's a lie. I'm going to call bullshit.
Revealed preference.
Exactly. All right. I think we're getting to I think it's time to end this.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for watching this episode of the Longhouse. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure what the program is quite yet. We're deep into summer right now, so everyone's on vacation and the news are slow and the topics are slow, so we'll have to see what we figure out. All right, have a good weekend, and remember to follow us on Twitter, read praxarchy.com, join the channel, subscribe, do all that stuff, and also of course buy your tickets to the Witten, shieldings.com/events, where you'll be able to meet all your favorite online parasocial fathers. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.